Hi guys, and welcome to Sayano Uta Part 6. This is Skithicon here, and I'm recording this just as Episode 5 is uploading, so we're going to get two episodes coming pretty quickly right after each other. Last episode was very weird, one with that scene with Saya and Yo at the end, but I suppose you guys don't need me to tell you that. Before we get too traumatized by remembering that, let's jump right back into the source of all the trauma that doesn't actually make sense. The point is, let's play Sayano Uta. Load. And here we are with Koji and Fuminori on their way to Tochigi. I hope the roads aren't covered in snow. Sitting in the passenger seat, Fuminori is gazing out of the frosted window in silence. He's been in this trance-like state for almost an hour now. Taking advantage of his inattention, Koji stares unabashedly at Fuminori from the corner of his eye. Who wouldn't stare at that cutie? He still doesn't understand the true meaning of the danger signals that he's been getting from Fuminori. Fuminori has stopped avoiding him, and he's even looking Koji in the eye when he talks. So why does Fuminori seem even more distant now than he did when he was trying to push Koji and the others away? Fuminori is noticeably relaxed as he stares off into space, but his gaze never wavers. It's as though he's focused on a single, definite future that he's chosen to bring about, one that has no place for the needs or wants of others. Nowadays they call that antisocial personality disorder. Right now, Fuminori is complete. Koji can't help but feel that beneath his bland exterior is a core of solid steel that no one can touch. About Omi, Koji says suddenly, as though trying to gauge Fuminori's reaction. It's been a week since she disappeared, and we still haven't heard from her. I see, Fuminori replies curtly, still staring into the distance. I'm worried. What could have happened to her? Fuminori's tone is completely emotionless, as though Koji just asked him a question about the weather or the condition of the mountain roads near their destination. I asked you this before, but you don't have any idea what happened to her? No, not at all, Fuminori answers in exactly the same way that he did when Koji first questioned him following Gomi's disappearance. To be fair, I am fairly certain that Fuminori doesn't actually know, does he? That's, yeah. I don't believe he and Saya ever spoke about it actually being Gomi, and he just never really asked. It's like you don't give a damn. It's not true. Finally, Fuminori shows some emotion, looking as though he can't believe Koji could think such a thing. She disappeared on the way to my house, didn't she? Of course I'm worried. Sudden frustration wells up inside Koji. If possible, he'd like to beat Fuminori until he reveals everything that's going on inside that head of his. Koji and Omi were lovers, and he's worried sick about her. To have his concern brushed off so coldly would be unbearable even coming from a complete stranger, but from Fuminori, who was his best friend, it's... Fuminori never used to be this callous. Even if Koji tried to interrogate him, he'd probably never find out what changed him so completely. If Fuminori were still just hiding inside the shell he'd erected around himself after the accident, Koji might have been able to get some answers out of him. With this sly, evasive Fuminori, however, there's nothing Koji can do. Fuminori will never reveal his true intentions, not to anyone. All that's left, then, is for Koji to discover the truth by himself. Omi was going to talk to you about Tsukuba, you know. Oh? Fuminori smiles bitterly at the mention of Tsukuba's name, perhaps feeling sympathy for her pain. To Koji, however, it seems as though he's coldly pitying some inferior creature. Yeah, this All the abnormal psych students, raise your hand, because if this isn't textbook antisocial, I do not know what is. About Scuba, I wouldn't know what to say. To be honest, it's been hard to talk to her after what happened. Unbelievable. If Fuminori's feelings for Yo were really this ice cold, then he would have rejected her when she confessed to him. But he didn't. Or at least, the Fuminori before the accident didn't. Once again, Koji can't help but wonder if the man who looks like his friend is really a different person who only possesses the memories of Sakisaka Fuminori. When they get off the West Nasu Flats interchange, the snow that Koji was worried about has stopped falling. The area must already be getting a lot of snow, however, as the nearby mountains are covered in white beneath the trees. By the time they turn off the national highway and enter the mountains, road conditions are already bad enough for Koji to regret having forgotten tire chains. Nevertheless, he continues to power his Accord up the precarious slopes, with only a road map for a guide. In a place like this, an address alone isn't enough to pinpoint a location. The only choice is to drive down every road, including private roads that aren't even on the map, while searching for something that matches the photograph. Man, if only this game took place, I don't know, 10 years after it did and they could get a GPS, but that's part of the real tragedy of Sayana Uta. Is there really a vacation home in a place like this? It's far from prying, guys. That must be why Professor Ogai chose this place. I rather like the idea of a mountain vacation home, actually. There's part of me that wants to be some hillbilly living in some hillbilly shack somewhere, and mountain's a good place to do it. The more he hears about Ogai, the less Koji wants to meet him. Fuminori is the one who spots the narrow road half hidden in the trees. It's practically an animal trail overgrown with weeds that are tall and strong enough to withstand the weight of the snow. Is this really a road? Good job, Fuminori, on spotting trails. Last episode he was just talking about how it's difficult for him to identify things. Koji stops the car and sticks his head out the window to stare into the dark forest, but he can't see where the path leads through the tightly packed trees. How does it look to you? Fuminori hands Koji the photo, which he compares to the mountain ridges visible beyond the trees. Yeah, it's definitely the right angle. Let's check it out. Fuminori's tone is as flat as always, but there's a quiet intensity in his voice that leaves no room for argument. Koji is worried that his car's suspension won't be able to handle the terrain, but there's no turning back now. Shifting into second gear, he drives down the frozen road. When, I don't know, 50 years in the future, everyone's just driving around single-speed automatic, or single-speed electric cars, I can't wait to be the crotchety old man yelling at everyone about how he had to shift gears back in my day. Anyway, back to Saya. The sun sets early at high altitudes. As the car creeps up the mountain path, Koji catches glimpses through the trees of the gradually darkening sky. The forest is completely still, with no sound save for the rumble of the Accord's engine and the crackle of snow and brush being crushed beneath its tires. Fuminori is once again staring silently through the front window. In the ominous silence, Koji feels the same faint chill that he felt when standing before Ogai's suburban home. It feels wrong, as though some primal instinct is warning him that he's traveling deeper and deeper into another world. After some time, a blocky shape suddenly appears amid the trees, standing out against the twilight sky. Nice-looking place. Koji turns off the car and compares the structure in front of him to the picture in his hand. A perfect match. Before he can tell Fuminori, however, his silent friend is already out of the car.
Oi.
Hey. Realizing that it's pointless to call out to him, Koji shakes his head, grabs the flashlight from the glove compartment, and follows Fuminori across the snow-covered front yard to the cabin. This is a cool shot, actually, just the two of them walking together. The photo must not have been taken recently, as the old run-down cabin before them has clearly been left at the mercy of the elements for some time. The front door appears to be locked, but Fuminori kicks it down without a second thought. Koji just watches, knowing that nothing he could say now would matter. It's pretty badass. You go, Fuminori. All of the windows are shut with heavy curtains, throwing the inside of the cabin into thick gloom. Fuminori turns on his own flashlight and starts rummaging through the cabin without regard for its owner's privacy. Koji's reluctant to do the same, but it's obvious that this mountain retreat has been abandoned for a long time, just like the house in Tokyo. Seeing no point in being considerate now, he goes to search a different room. Soon after entering the cabin, however, he realizes that their search is meaningless. There's nothing inside but the bare necessities of life. Some rooms are even completely empty, save for a thick layer of dust covering the floor. Yeah, Ogai could do with some more decorating. Of what few pieces of furniture are present, more than half appear to have never been used. There's an empty chest of drawers without a single scratch or handprint, but bearing the telltale signs of mold and moisture damage. The condition of the cabin is eerie, though in a different way than the filthiness of the house in the city. It's like someone put together a mock-up of a home, and then left it to decay. The only signs that anyone lived here are found in the toilet, the bath, the kitchen, and in the bedroom. It appears that the cabin was never used for anything but eating and sleeping. That's one way to live life. Beneath the darkened sky, the snow-covered land itself seems to be glowing with a cold, white light. The scene is like something out of a fairy tale, but to Koji, it only serves as an unpleasant reminder that he has stepped outside of the reality that he knows. Next to the front porch is a plain wooden door half buried in the ground. It's locked, of course, but Koji sees no reason for restraint after what Fuminori did to the front door. The door offers surprisingly little resistance to Koji's heavy kick, breaking open easily to reveal a set of concrete stairs leading down into a pitch-black basement. Spooky. Koji would prefer to leave searching such a suspicious place to Fuminori, but it's not like he can just ask him to do so. With the beam of his flashlight leading the way, Koji descends into the chilly darkness. There turns out to be nothing in the basement but a storage room and a boiler, exactly what one would expect to find in an isolated mountain cabin. The few packages of preserved food sitting on the shelves have long since passed their expiration dates, and the boiler doesn't appear to have been used in years. To Koji, Ogai's mountain home seems to have been abandoned longer than the house in Tokyo. Was Fuminori simply mistaken when he said that Ogai might be here, or was he lying from the beginning? Not sure what to do next, Koji goes back up the stairs and walks around the outside of the cabin, and there he finds the backyard. It's in much worse condition than the front yard, having already been mostly reclaimed by the forest. It must have been abandoned even when the cabin was still in use. The remnants of a woodshed lie in the yard, the mushrooms growing on it speaking to how much time has passed since its collapse. Next to the rotten logs, however, stands a circle of stone that has not yet succumbed to the elements. A well. It has no bucket or pulley, of course, and when Koji carefully approaches and looks into it, he sees that the water is no longer flowing. It's probably less than 10 meters deep, depending on how much mud is piled up inside of it. Koji's search of the cabin has revealed nothing of interest, inside or out. Leaning against the edge of the well, Koji wonders why Ogai bought this remote home deep in the mountains, and what he was doing here. As far as Koji can tell, there's no sign that more than one person stayed here for any length of time. It's far from prying eyes. That's what Fuminori said, yeah. Fuminori's words play back in Koji's head. Could this have been some sort of secret refuge? Or could it have been used as a place to keep things hidden from the world? If so, that would explain why there's nothing to suggest that whoever lived here did anything more than eat and sleep. Koji suddenly remembers that doctor he met yesterday at T University. Maybe she'd know something. He takes out his phone and calls up the newly stored number. There's barely a signal, but it manages to get through. Koji's hopes are soon dashed, however, when his call goes straight to Dr. Tanbo's voicemail. Oh, that's cute. Japanese voicemail. He considers calling back later, but realizes that it would be hard to talk to her with Fuminori around. Fuminori would not be at all pleased to find out that Koji and Yo went to see his doctor. Koji decides that he'd better tell the doctor what he can while he's still alone. Hello, this is Tono Koji. Thank you for your help the other day. Koji leaves a clear and concise message explaining that he was brought by Fuminori to Professor Ogai's mountain retreat, giving the address, and asking for confirmation that the property actually belongs to Ogai. I'll call again when I get back to Tokyo. Goodbye. After hanging up, Koji thinks back to their visit to the hospital. Is Dr. Tanbo actually investigating like she said she would? The secret about Professor Ogai that she adamantly refused to reveal is still weighing on his mind. He talked to Yo about it on the way home, but they were unable to decide whether the doctor could really be trusted. Speaking of which, how is Yo doing? Koji hasn't seen her today. He didn't say a word to her about his trip to Tochigi. She might be worried, especially so soon after Omi's disappearance. Thinking to check up on her, Koji dials Yo's number, and is surprised when it keeps ringing longer than it usually does. Did she forget her phone somewhere? Just as he's about to give up, the call connects. The first thing Koji hears is a strange sound. It's not signal interference, but some kind of wet, distorted noise, like the voiceless groans or perhaps sobs of someone far away. Oh shit. No, these really are sobs. Whoever's on the other side is crying in misery. Tsukuba, is that you? Who? There's a response, but is that really Tsukuba's voice? It's too twisted with agony for Koji to tell. Panic surges through Koji as he realizes that something is terribly wrong. It's Koji, Tono Koji. Tsukuba, is that you? Where are you? After a short period of nothing but pained moans, words start coming out of the speaker one by one, as though each takes an act of will. I was attacked by a monster, and now there's something wrong with my body. Oh dear. What happened? Hey, you alright? Yo must be delirious or something because Koji can't understand a thing that she's saying. Her gasps and wheezes, however, are enough to tell him that she's in unimaginable pain. I'm rotting away. My skin is melting. My ear just came off. It just struck me that, depending on how you take this, Koji could either end up incredibly terrified or just thinking that she is on a very bad trip. Let's continue with the spooks. This is getting rather intense. Unable to make any sense of this, Koji feels despair seizing his heart in an iron grip. What the hell is happening to Yo now, over 100 kilometers away? Only her voice gives Koji any hint of what she's going through, and there's nothing he can do for her. Help me, Tono. This isn't how my fingers are supposed to look. Scuba, call the cops. Call for help. No, I can't let anyone see me like this. Oh, that coughing, that's rather nasty. Yo suddenly breaks off into a violent hacking cough as though she's trying to expel something filling her throat. Scuba. Koji screams into the phone, his reason overwhelmed by the unimaginable horror that is befalling Yo. Which is why he's unable to react quickly when the phone is suddenly knocked out of his hand, and also why he didn't notice Fuminori sneaking up on him until it was too late. What? Fuminori seizes Koji's lower jaw with his right hand, cutting off Koji's angry shout. Koji can hardly believe the strength of the smaller man's grip. Koji's biggest mistake was leaning back against the well. With Fuminori forcing him backwards over the edge, there's nothing Koji can grab onto. He can only flail his arms vainly against the air. Koji soon loses his balance completely. He feels a terrifying weightlessness as the world spins before his eyes. Before he can realize that he's been pushed into the well, his back strikes something with tremendous force. He thrashes wildly as cold, dirty water fills his mouth and freezes him to the core. Only when his fingers find the wall of the well is he able to regain his sense of direction and right himself. Sucks for Koji. On his hands and knees in the mud, Koji vomits the filthy water out of his lungs. Although the mud cushioned his fall, he has more important things to worry about than being properly thankful for his good luck. Fuminori, he tries to shout, but it comes out as a hoarse groan made even harder to understand by the echoes bouncing off of the walls. Fuminori's maniacal laughter, on the other hand, is clearly audible even at the bottom of the well. Sorry for interrupting your phone call, he says scornfully. Here, I'll return this. Fuminori tosses Koji's phone into the well. Koji catches it just before it hits him in the face, but he finds that the battery pack has been removed, rendering it useless. What the hell are you doing? This is no joke. It's a miracle that Koji's uninjured. If he'd landed the wrong way, he could have easily have died. Wait, just because I'm not hurt doesn't mean that... Koji feels around the inside of the well, searching for something to hold on to, but the mud-covered stone offers no purchase. It's obvious that he won't be able to get out without help. If you died on impact, you wouldn't have had to suffer. You really have no luck, Koji. Hey, Are you serious? Koji was about to ask, but the pieces have finally come together in his head. Today's sudden change in Fuminori's attitude, the smile that had always seemed somehow malevolent. Fuminori hadn't been smiling at Koji, but at the thought of his friend's death. Why? Even though he recognizes what has happened, he can't understand it. Yeah, this would be, rather confusing. It is, also interesting to see, how Fuminori's changed now that he is just consciously thrown out his humanity in this ending. Why would Fuminori, who was supposed to be his friend, try to kill him? True, Fuminori had wanted Koji to stay out of his business, but is that really a motive for murder? It's not that I needed you dead right now, exactly, but you could have become trouble later on. So I figured that I might as well take advantage of this secluded place to, well... Might as well? You're doing this on a whim? Do you really need a reason to die? Fuminori replies coldly, as though he's truly amazed that Koji would ask such a thing. Yeah, in Fuminori's mind, I guess there's no reason for bad things to not happen to people anymore, what with the whole accident and world shattered and all that, but, yeah. Do you think you're special, Koji? People die for no reason at all, you know. My parents did, and I almost followed them. Yep, that's the attitude. You're crazy. If you want a reason so badly, come up with one yourself. You'll have plenty of time down there, won't you? So normally when you have the same psychiatric diagnoses that Fuminori does, you're supposed to take a bunch of lithium to reduce impulsivity. Because, yeah, you're not supposed to quite be this crazy. Fuminori disappears from view, leaving Koji alone in the darkness with nothing to connect him to the outside world. Fuminori! Hey, Fuminori! Koji shouts at the top of his lungs, knowing beyond a doubt that if Fuminori leaves, all hope of rescue will vanish with him. No one will ever hear him calling for help from the bottom of a mountain well. Tsukuba, she's in trouble. Hey, Fuminori, listen, let me out of here. In his desperation, Koji no longer comprehends the futility of begging Fuminori for mercy. No god or devil will answer him. His only hope is that Fuminori will have a change of heart. As though praying for a miracle, he keeps calling Fuminori's name. Eventually, the sky becomes as dark as the bottom of the well, making it impossible for Koji to make out the edge of the opening. He's long since lost track of how many hours he's been screaming. That's, doesn't sound fun. Sorry, Koji. Nevertheless, he continues to scream, for he knows that the despair silence will bring will kill him. I feel great. This is the satisfaction of having found the perfect solution to a difficult problem, the feeling that you get when the last piece of the puzzle slides smoothly into place. I've killed a man, and no one will ever know. The path back to civilization seems awfully long, but neither the cold nor the exhaustion can ruin my good mood as I walk by myself down the snow-covered mountain road. I was tempted to use Koji's car, but that would have introduced a flaw into the plan. That cabin is the perfect place to hide both Koji's corpse and his car, after all. The plan had formed in my mind the moment I had looked at the address and realized how remote the location was. Even if I couldn't find anything to lead me to Professor Ogai, his absence would at least prove that the cabin had been utterly abandoned, in which case it would be the perfect spot to take care of a problem. I knew that coming all the way out to Tochigi wouldn't be a waste of time. I didn't even need to use the meat cleaver that's hidden in my clothes. A dry well, it's like fate itself, provided me with a perfect setting. Fuminori is, so lucky. That idiot didn't even realize how dangerous it was to be leaning against the well like that, and his phone call distracted him enough that I was able to sneak up on him unseen. Anyway, one of the people whose questions might have caused trouble for Sai and me has vanished completely from the face of the earth. All that's left is to eliminate the other one. Tsukuba Yo. I mustn't underestimate her just because she's not as aggressive as Koji. Even she should be able to see a connection between the disappearances of Tano Koji and Takahata Ome. In a way, I should be thankful that it was Yo whom Koji was talking to next to the well. If he'd reported our location to a third party, I'd have to track down and eliminate that person too. I'm a little worried about what they were discussing, but judging by how Koji was yelling unintelligibly into the phone, they probably weren't exchanging detailed information. Well, either way, I'd better get rid of Yo as soon as possible. You guys see where this is going. After walking all night long, I finally reached the Nasuflat's train station just as the trains start running. It's a nice looking train. It only takes an hour to get back to Tokyo on the Limited Express. It's not enough time to rest, but I'm feeling too wound up for that to matter. Besides, I don't want to waste any time in thinking up a way to kill Yo. Using the cabin again would be too dangerous, and I'm not sure how I'd get her out there in the first place. I just lost my temper and exploded in her face the other day. I doubt that she'll be as quick to trust me as Koji was, which means that it'll be difficult to get her alone. Rather than dwell on it by myself, I could just ask Saya for her opinion. Even I have some pride, however. I want to show her that I'm a man who can take care of business. It's cute. You go, Fuminori. Unfortunately, I'm unable to come up with anything before I get home. Well, I suppose that I should just be proud of having dealt with Koji, who was the imminent threat. The search of Professor Ogai's cabin was a bust, with no trace of his having been there, but I see no reason to get frustrated. Sai isn't all that concerned about the professor's whereabouts, so looking for him is just something I'm doing to satisfy my own curiosity. I'm home. And there's, Saya's theme song. It's morning, half a day later than I normally get home, and the sound of Saya running down the stairs tells me just how impatient she was for my return. Makes me feel all warm and tingly inside. Actually, a thing that I really like about this game is, you know, with how utterly emotionally ruined Fuminori is, he still wants love, and I think it's pretty cute actually, because there's the sort of whole point to it that everyone, no matter who they are, wants to be understood, or something that sounds more optimistic than a thing that I'd usually say, but yeah, I do very much believe it's true. Welcome home, Fuminori. She enthusiastically throws her arms around my neck, her smile at least 20% brighter than usual. Wow, 20%. Pretty cool. Sorry I'm late. There was a change of plans. It's okay. I'm just about done with my preparations too. Preparations? Saya responds to my confusion with a mischievous smile. I'm getting a surprise ready for you. What kind of surprise? That's a secret. Anyway, aren't you tired? Do you want to eat, or take a bath first? I don't realize how hungry I am until Saya mentions it. When I think about how I've been walking around all night without eating anything, my stomach's emptiness becomes painfully clear. However, I can't sit down to a leisurely meal while covered in the dirt and sweat of the road. I'd like to grab a quick snack and get in a long hot bath first. I thought you'd say that, so I got the bath ready. You must be cold after being outside all night. She's so caring. Yeah, I sure am. I'm amazed by Saya's foresight. She's always ready to give me what I want before I want it. Aww. And yeah, here we see, well, we've got the green wall, so this is from Minori's perspective. He still sees water normally, which is nice. At least baths are enjoyable for him. Sounds like you had a hard time. Oh, he's gonna show Saya a hard time. That means with his penis. Probably. While soaking in the bath together, I tell Saya about yesterday's adventure. They both look so happy. Killing him was easier than I thought. The hard part was getting home. The heat of the bath is soothing, as is the sensation of Saya leaning back against my chest as she massages the fatigue of the night's walking out of my stiff leg muscles. Her cute little collarbone rises each time she squeezes my legs, and I can see the soft curves of her breasts floating in the water. Ah, I'm home, I think, as contentment fills my body. I don't even need to sleep to relieve my exhaustion. Just like the living room and bedroom, the bathroom is painted in the colors that Saya and I find pleasing. We've left the entrance and hallway untouched, just in case someone should see inside the house, so these 3 rooms are the only places I can relax in my own home. It was very cold in the mountains, even for winter. I should have worn heavier clothing. I was afraid I'd freeze to death when it got dark. Also say, is it just me, or is Fuminori's hair green in this image? I was just thinking about how the walls, which we know are red, and Saya's hair are similarly in color. And then here we see Fuminori's hair is green, even though it's usually black. That could just be some sort of weird glow effect in how they drew the scene, though. I don't know. I don't know art. I won't keep rambling about that. Why didn't you just take that Koji person's clothes and wear them over what you had on? Aren't you forgetting that I pushed him into a well? His clothes were with him at the bottom. Oh yeah. That's such a cute conversation. Saya laughs and sticks her tongue out bashfully. So now there's just that Tsukuba-yo woman to worry about. She's the only person I can think of who can connect me to Koji's disappearance. After I take care of her, we can finally relax. Saya's thoughtful. Saya glances at me over her shoulder like she knows something that I don't. Have you already thought of a way to kill her? Well, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't come up with anything yet. I was hoping that you might have some ideas. Leave it to me, she says, grinning with unusual confidence. I have a way of dealing with this that you'd never dream of. It's as good as done. Really? Okay, it should be about ready by now, Saya says, her voice full of anticipation. She rises from the bath, her naked body glistening through the steam. Come on, Fuminori. I have something to show you. Close your eyes, and don't open them until I say so. Okay? Okay? I have no idea what's going on, but I do as Saya says and close my eyes. She takes my hand and leads me up the stairs. So the surprise she has for me must be up on the 2nd floor. As I wonder what it could be, the sound of something crying upstairs reaches my ears, putting me on guard instantly. Saya, is there something... No peeking, she admonishes me, then strokes my arm soothingly. Don't worry, it's nothing dangerous. Alright. The voice gets louder and louder as Saya leads me up the stairs. The unmistakable sound of a person sobbing miserably is coming from the bedroom, telling me that Saya has let someone else into our home. At first, I'm amazed that she can be so careless after what happened to her 2 days ago, but then I realize that something is strange. I hear someone sobbing in misery. Isn't Saya the only one whose voice can carry such clear emotion to me? Although I still have my eyes closed when Saya leads me into the bedroom, I know that there's someone moaning and trembling right in front of me. However, I smell none of the human body odor that normally turns my stomach. You guys on the edge of your seats? Okay, time to meet face to face. Open your eyes, Fuminori. I obey and open my eyes, and am struck dumb by what I see. Tsukuba-yo is lying on the floor in the fetal position without a scrap of clothing to cover her shivering body. When I first lay eyes upon her naked flesh, I am entranced by the sensuality of her generous proportions, far more mature than I would have expected from her usual pure and innocent appearance. Wait, forget about that. Why is she in my bedroom, naked? Oh, I've asked that a lot. That's not actually true. That's not a thing I've asked a lot. Moreover, why is she... Well, Fuminori, how does she look to you? She's beautiful, but why can I... It doesn't make sense. There's no question that the naked woman in front of me is the Tsukuba whom I remember. She isn't the putrid creature whose attentions I found so unbearable after the accident. My senses recognize her as the human that she is. This girl likes you, you know? I do know. I've never told Saya, however. How did she find out? So I decided to change her body into one that can be loved by you. Ah, that's so nice of her. So, she really did do the right thing last episode, sort of, kind of, arguably, maybe, not so. Whatever. Saya pauses to gauge my reaction, then continues with a satisfied nod. I made her like me. What? How? I still don't understand what led Saya to choose Yo, but even more incomprehensible is what she just said. She changed Yo's body. Don't you remember what I said the other day? I have the ability to mold the bodies of other living things. Yeah, I remember. She said that she'd done something to my neighbor Suzumi's brain. I hadn't doubted her sincerity, but I hadn't seen what she'd done to Suzumi with my own eyes either. I guess that, until now, I thought she'd been half-exaggerating. But now, with Yo like this... It was a big change this time, not like the little tweak I made to the man next door. But this is how my abilities are really meant to be used. This was my first time doing it, though. Is this really Yo? It might be a strange question considering that she looks exactly like Yo, but I know better than anyone that she's not supposed to look like herself to me. Yo finally notices my presence and turns her head to face me. I can see a faint glimmer of recognition in her glassy and focused eyes. It's the way Yo used to look at me. How could I forget it? This is far beyond mere cosmetic surgery. Once a twisted creature unrecognizable as human, Yo is now the very image of human femininity. There's no similarity between what she was and what she is, which means that Yo has become something utterly inhuman. According to Saya, she has become what Saya is. No one on this planet knows more about the anatomy of Homo sapiens than I do, Saya declares, her voice filled with pride at her first creation. I've studied a lot, after all. Studied? How did you learn this? Who taught you? When? Where? She couldn't have learned it from Professor Ogai. No teacher on Earth would be able to impart such knowledge or skill to Saya. This is far beyond human capabilities. Come on, don't you remember what you've been filling me with every night? Now we know. Saya blushes in embarrassment. That's like a blueprint for the human body. I can decipher it, and then I can bend it to my will. What is she, really? I've accepted that she isn't human, but there's more to her than that. Saya is something that far transcends my species. It was my first time, though, so it didn't go as well as it should. When Saya approaches, Yo trembles in terror and tries to crawl away, but she's only able to flail her arms and legs wildly. It's like she doesn't know how to move her new body. And the only sounds coming out of her mouth are frightened moans. She can't talk. Yeah, Saya says, shaking her head regretfully. Unfortunately, her mind seems to have broken. It did take a whole 20 hours for the change to finish, after all. I feel a little bad for her. She must have suffered a lot. Yo looks up at me pleadingly, as though begging me to save her. She's no longer to ask me for help, though, nor even to call my name. Well, Saya asks, her eyes shining with anticipation. Do you like her? I'm at a loss for how to respond. What do you mean? You said you wanted family and friends, didn't you? That's why I got this present for you. That's so sweet. Her innocent explanation only confuses me further. A present? Come on, it's not like she's a puppy. There's not much difference. Her head is totally empty, after all. I'm happy that Saya wants to please me, but she could use a little more common sense. It's not that. Holding a person captive is probably a lot harder than you think. Oh, don't I know it. That's a joke. That is a joke. Don't worry about it. Look, I have her chained up. The only thing preventing Yo from being totally naked is the leather collar around her neck. I have no idea where Saya got it from, but it's the kind of dog collar that would be sold in any pet store, and attached to it is a chrome chain that's fastened to one of the bedposts. I'm thinking she probably got it from a dog. Yo tries to get away again, but Saya sends her sprawling with a tug of the chain. Yo falls clumsily to the floor, squealing in pain. Her actions are those of an unintelligent animal, just as Saya said. And besides, it's not like she can do anything complicated like escape and get help anymore. See? There's nothing for you to worry about, is there? Saya has a point. I was racking my brain trying to come up with a plan to kill Tsukuba Yo, but now my problem has been solved in a way that I'd never imagined. If a normal person looks upon her now, they'll probably see no trace whatsoever of the old Yo. And if she has no memories and can't even speak, it's perfect. Saya has killed Yo without taking her life. There's still the problem of what Saya means by giving Yo to me, however. You're not happy? Saya asks dejectedly, her confidence suddenly gone as though it was never there. So other people that are, familiar with abnormal psych, do you guys think I am right in saying that Saya strikes me as very borderline, what with the growing attached very quickly, feeling rejected very easily, and, just being somewhat unstable in mood, because, that's a thing I see a bit. Did I misunderstand again? Is this a problem for you? No. I can take good care of her all by myself. I won't let her make things difficult for you. So, can she stay? That's not it. The last thing I want is to reject this symbol of Saya's affection. But how can I explain to Saya the reason that I can't look at the naked woman writhing on the floor? It's not that. Yo is the first human figure besides Saya that I've seen in the 3 months since the accident, and she's a woman positively glowing with voluptuous feminine beauty. Of course I'm happy, but I also can't ignore the voice of reason that's telling me not to be. I'm happy, really, but if I show how pleased I am, I'm worried that you'll... Huh? Saya looks puzzled as though she has absolutely no idea what I'm getting at. I mean, look, she's still a girl, right? Don't you balk at the thought of me living with another girl? After considering this briefly, Saya finally seems to understand what I'm trying to say. Of course not. You're thinking too much. Maybe I'm worrying too much, although I'm pretty sure that I'm just showing the consideration that any man who's sworn his love to a woman would show. Or maybe Saya doesn't understand that a man faced with a woman's naked body can't help but react regardless of his feelings. How funny. You really are kind, Fuminori. Yeah. I only did this so that she would be able to please you. If you like her and enjoy spending time with her, then I'll be happy too. You have nothing to be shy about. I hate to say this, but I struggle to find the right words to express my true feelings. Men are, well, really depraved creatures, and I mean, Yo's body has features that are totally different than yours, right? So even though it's totally different from my love for you, I can't help but get aroused. With each word that I squeeze from my lips, Saya seems more and more amused until she finally starts shaking with laughter. I know, Saya exclaims jovially, patting my shoulder with one hand and wiping tears of mirth from her eyes with the other. There's no reason to be ashamed of your natural male instincts, is there? If you're really that worried, let me join in when you play with her. We can enjoy ourselves in ways that we couldn't when it was just the two of us. Okay? Ah, Fuminori's got himself a tentacle monster harem now. That's great. It's good. It's awesome. Are you sure? I ask again, as though trying to force her to say no. Saya answers me with a smile that I've never seen before. It is calm, so terribly calm, and there is something bewitching about this soft set of her lips that makes it wholly unlike her usual bright, childish smile. You and I are lovers, and Tsukuba Yo is our pet. She'll be reminded of that when we play with her, every day, from now on. I finally know why Saya chose Yo, for the venom in her voice and smile does not escape me. Although she can no longer answer, if asked, Yo would surely have chosen to be killed rather than meet this end. I have no doubt that what she is experiencing is a fate worse than death, which is the very reason that Saya did this to her. How wicked and terrible Saya is. Perhaps others would fear and loathe her. To me, however, her malevolence is irresistibly charming. That's proper waifu right there. Awesome. The horrifying cruelty of what she has done to Yo is so very human. Though her shape may be different, her soul is the same as ours. When I look upon Yo's wretched form, I see the intensity and passion of Saya's love for me, for the flames that have consumed Yo are fueled by that very love. I find myself enthusiastically accepting Saya's present. Saya, do you like this pet too? Yeah, she's very pretty, and feels good to touch. So you'll be able to enjoy playing with her too, right? I don't have to hold back, do I? I'm, sure Saya thinks she feels good to touch? Yeah. Of course I will. Grinning happily, Saya grabs the chain and pulls Yo to her feet. Try touching her, Fuminori. She's really nice and soft. Okay? As Yo looks up at me with teary, pleading eyes, I approach and let my gaze roam freely over her lush body and ripe breasts. I run my fingers through her hair, finding it as smooth as Saya's. Enjoying the feel, I continue to gently caress Yo's head. Her fearful expression softens a little. Perhaps she remembers me in some part of her mind and thinks that I am someone who will be kind to her. How foolish. I stop stroking her hair and calmly seize both of her breasts. She flinches in pain at the sudden rough treatment, but I ignore her and continue to mercilessly knead her breast as my lust demands. Lewd. And that dog collar too, wow. They're really, really soft. When I squeeze them, it's like my fingers are being sucked inside. I can't get this feeling from Messiah's tight, slender body, and besides, I would never think of treating her delicate frame so harshly. Yo, however. I grab her full breast from underneath and squeeze them like tubes of toothpaste, then give her nipples a little tweak. That's a very, very nice simile right there. Yo squeals, unable to handle the pain. Even little force can be painful when applied to a sensitive area. Of course, I'm being more than a little forceful. I pinch her nipples between my thumbs and index finger, then twist hard, listening as Yo's screams get louder and she gasps for air. Having my way with a woman is more fun than I thought. Saya looks so happy. Oh, and the collar is wrapped around her hand too. Fuminori, Saya says from the sidelines, it looks like you're all ready to go. She's right, my lust's already straining against my slacks, trying to burst free. Which do you prefer? A full-grown body like hers, or one like mine? As far as bodies go, probably this one. That's, This is a weird conversation, isn't it? That makes me a little jealous, Saya complains, pouting adorably. You're the one who said you didn't mind. Come on, join in. Yeah, let me play with her. Saya presses up against Yo's back and grabs her breasts from behind. Following my lead, she wriggles her fingers against Yo's breasts, taking full advantage of their softness. This never gets old. The tears in Yo's eyes and the sight of her breast changing shape under Saya's hand causes a new sadistic desire to well up within me. Alright, let's try this. I love how Yo's stare is completely blank and Saya looks so excited. I pull off my slacks and put the tip of my hard manhood against Yo's breasts, then begin sliding into the space between them. Saya, bring them closer to the center. Okay, like this? Understanding what I want, Saya squeezes Yo's breasts around my shaft. The sensation is astounding. As Saya uses Yo's breasts to press on me from the outside, I plow through the center with my penis. Does it feel good, Fuminori? Yeah, sure does. The softness and warmth of Yo's breast is different than that of Saya's vagina, heretofore unknown pleasure that is swiftly driving me to climax. This seems weird to me, but okay. I thrust even deeper, bringing the tip of my penis up against the crying Yo's face. With each stroke, the stiff head of my penis pokes her in the mouth or nose like a dark red weapon, bringing new cries of fear and pleas of mercy from her throat. Saya, harder. Like this. Yo jerks in agony as Saya squeezes her breasts ruthlessly. Her convulsions combine with the sensation of Saya's hands cutting through the softness of her breasts and the feeling of being serviced by both of them at once brings my pleasure to the breaking point. My lust erupts right in Yo's face. The sudden explosion covers her entire face with my hot seed. Yo shakes her head violently, trying in vain to escape the sticky goo dripping from her eyelids and nose. That's a lot, Saya says, staring at Yo's face with a mixture of awe and envy. Aw, so cute. Then Saya grabs Yo's head, pulls it to her, and starts slapping my seed off of Yo's face like it's the most wonderful thing in the world. All of this belongs to me. Even as Saya tries to lick it all off, some of it drips into Yo's mouth, causing her to choke as it runs down her throat. Hey, stop that. You can't have any. So greedy. Saya desperately presses her lips against Yo's and thrusts her tongue into Yo's mouth, sucking up all of the semen inside. When she pulls away with a wet sound, a sensual strand of saliva and other fluids connects them briefly. You don't get to have any, Saya says with satisfaction as she swallows my sperm. It's all mine. Yo looks on Saya's bewitching smile with fear-clouded eyes as though she has no idea what's going on. The sight of these two women passionately exchanging fluids fills my loins with hot lust once again. Just using Yo's breast isn't enough. Saya went to the trouble of giving me this present, so I'd better take full advantage of it. Abandoning Yo's breasts, which are red and inflamed from the friction of Saya's fingers and my penis, I run my hand down her stomach and slide my fingers between her legs. Oh dear. As I touch her most sensitive place, her entire body stiffens as though hit with an electric shock. However, my fingers clearly feel the unmistakable honey seeping from her inner folds. Despite what has been done to her, this woman is wet. This realization purges my mind of any remaining respect for its Kubayo, replacing it with the affection one feels for a pet. I do really like how Fuminori and Saya are so sadistic. This is wonderful. Be sure to get your hands down below the belt if they're not already there. Ignoring her cries of pain, I roughly push Yo down to the floor and lift her left leg into the air. I raise her leg until it's almost perpendicular to the floor, giving me a good view of her vagina. Yo probably can't feel shame anymore, but she does seem to understand how vulnerable she is in this position. She tries to get away from me, panting like a hunted animal. While holding her firmly in place, I get on my knees and straddle her right thigh, then poke my manhood against the dripping entrance to her womb. When I make contact with her sensitive mucous membrane, oh, how sexy, her gasps start to become screams. She's still not wet enough to accept me without difficulty, but that doesn't matter. My shaft is more than hard enough to force its way in. After enjoying Yo's panicked reaction to the impending threat of pain, I thrust myself into the hilt. Aw, she's crying. She must not have been sufficiently prepared, as her choked scream is like that of a dying animal. In fact, it reminds me of how Suzumi screamed when I stabbed him with my knife. Yo struggles to escape from the painful thing invading her. But with me sitting on her right leg and holding her left leg in the air, she can't move her lower body at all. No matter how hard she flails her arms and twists her torso, she can't escape from me. Powerless to resist, she can only ride out each brutal thrust of my hips. Looks painful, Saya says, peering curiously at Yo's tear-streaked face. The sensation of Yo's inner walls is completely different from Saya's. Despite her immature appearance, Saya's vagina is surprisingly soft and flexible, always sucking me in like a hungry serpent. Yo's, on the other hand, is clearly untouched. Unaccustomed to intrusion, it's still hard and tight and isn't producing enough lubricant to match the speed of my thrusts. That said, such strong resistance can be a source of pleasure for the one exploring the undiscovered territory. Is she pleasing you? You could say that. Oh, so suave. Her vagina alone isn't as satisfying as Saya's, but the rest of her voluptuous body offers different riches to plunder. The hypnotic quivering of her thighs as she trembles beneath me, the sight of her breasts heaving like storm-tossed ships. I like that metaphor, actually, storm-tossed ships. These sights and sensations alone are enough to stimulate my basest lusts. I'll join in too. I still really love how, or can't get over how happy Saya looks in all these scenes. Saya straddles the side of Yo that isn't on the floor, pressing her clitoris against Yo's hip bone. Saya gasps in pleasure as the tremors caused by my rafting of Yo's insides are transmitted into her body. How cute, Saya mutters dreamily, rubbing Yo's breasts with her left hand. She's so adorable. Yo's moans start to become more rhythmical and passionate. She must be beginning to find my movements pleasurable, as her insides are now wet enough for me to slide through easily. Hey, Fuminori, Saya calls to me in a breathless voice as she pleasures herself on Yo's body. When you're about to come. She doesn't need to finish to make her desire clear to me. Yeah, I know. Don't worry. That's so sweet. So very sweet. Saya shamelessly slides her slender waist between me and Yo, the glistening dew dripping from her groin, speaking to her readiness. Racing to the finish, I pick up the pace of my thrusts. Once again, Yo is forced to gasp for breath. Saya, I'm... Okay. Come, Fuminori. This scene is unnecessarily long, wow. The blazing hot orgasmic fire races down my spine. Having reached the moment of truth, I release my grip on Yo and push her away, then seize Saya's buttocks with both hands. Responding to her cry of anticipation, I pull her to me and drive my exploding penis into her soaking hot core. Saya accepts my raging manhood, screaming in both pain and ecstasy. Surrounded by the familiar hot and soft embrace of Saya's body, I fill her with the seed of my lust so that she so desperately desires. Hot. Saya convulses and collapses into my chest, smiling contentedly as she surrenders herself to the fire filling her womb. Still breathing hard after my ravaging of her body, Yo gazes at us with dazed, uncomprehending eyes. Sprawled on top of each other, the three of us bask in the warm glow that comes in the quiet aftermath of a storm. As I lie on my bed, completely drained of energy, I wonder what my life will be like from now on. Wow, how long was that scene? Like 15 minutes or something? It seemed to take forever. Saya is sleeping in my arms. Yo is sleeping curled up on the floor. Yesterday, I could not have imagined that the three of us would be a family. Family's a way to put it. A new home, new food, new family, all granted to me by Saya. To soothe my despair, she selflessly led me from the brink of death to find a new joy. And I, too, have changed. I've killed 2 people who were nuisances to me and have made a third my mindless slave. Yet without all that I've done, I'm still able to sleep peacefully. Without a doubt, I'm no longer the Sakasaka Fuminori I once was. How far will Saya go? What will I become? I feel somewhat unsure, though not discouraged, about the unknown world in which we're heading. And so, while playing with Saya's hair, I ask, Saya, just what are you? I don't expect an answer. If Saya is asleep or doesn't want to respond, I won't mind. Saya turns to me, however, and draws my gaze into the deep pools of her eyes. It's kind of hard to explain. She thinks for a while as though searching for the right words, then says simply, You know the dandelion flower, the one that scatters its seeds on the wind? Yeah? The wind carries those fluffy seeds far, far away from where they were born. What if one of them ends up in a desert where not even a single blade of grass is growing? If you can imagine how that lone seed will feel, then you might be able to understand me. As I consider Saya's answer, she continues her story. The seed is a baby plant after all. If it does its best, it can turn even a desert into a garden. Maybe that little seed will decide to try its hardest. Maybe it will decide to grow and multiply so that it can turn the whole desert into a field of dandelions. What do you think can give that dandelion seed the strength to do so? What? Saya smiles softly and caresses my cheek. All it needs is to be loved by just one person in the whole desert. All it needs is to be told how pretty dandelions are. The loving touch of her slender fingers fills me with peace and joy. I love you. I pull her into my chest, nodding silently. Stay with me forever. Never leave my side. Of course. Basking in the soft warmth of our love for each other, we sink into the oblivion of sleep. And that is going to be it for episode 6 of Let's Play Saya no Uta. Next episode, well, you guys see we are back to Koji's perspective now. So we're going to see what'll happen there. If anything does come of the Ogai thing, or if Fuminori and Saya are finally nice and happy, and just where the story is going in general. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and hope to make the next one soon. See you around.